Mike, why did you come back to work for Leap? And then also, what do you contribute the biggest factor for most of your growth just in your life as a person?
Great question. So I came back to Leap because I really believe in what this platform can offer for contractors and then their homeowners. And the biggest driving factor for growth in my life has absolutely been the relationship that I have with God and my spirituality.
Welcome to this edition of the Hoel Truth Podcast. Today, his special guest is Mike, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name because I'll butcher it. But Mike's a friend. He also works for Leap, which is our CRM company that we use. Mike, take a second to introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate just the loving environment, and honestly, it really means a lot to me. So thank you for, bringing me to the farm, letting me hang out with the family, taking me out to supper last night. I really do appreciate that. So it's an honor to be here, and it really is an honor to call you a friend.
Thank you.
Seriously mean that. And a little bit about myself. My name is Mike Ippoliti. So I am the strategic implementation lead over at Leap CRM. And essentially what I do is I help improve the onboarding implementation process for all of our contractors that use the system to make sure that it streamlines their processes to fit exactly what they do. Instead of you having to mold and change the way you do business to use the CRM, we like to mold the CRM around you.
So last night, we'll have a little fun here for a second. So last night he came out to the house, coming from a guy that grew up in Jersey, and Rhett had to take him out to the barn, show him the calves. He's out there petting baby calves or younger, littler calves. He was checking out one of the kids' show heifers. So it's always cool for me. This is just so natural and used to me. You're out there lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. And it's cool because I enjoy agriculture. Small town, that's who we are. That's who me and Emily are as a person. So when you get to show somebody that's really never been around it, and my son just eats it up, that opportunity. So I mean that was a lot of fun for me. Like I said, it's every day. We got to take care of them cows every day. Some people get tired of that, but you show up and your excitement, that was pretty cool. So,
I absolutely loved it. I mean, again, just like you said, it's an experience I've never had before. We were talking earlier, have I ever seen a cow? And it's
right.
Of course, right? But have I ever been that close to a cow from being able to pet it? No, I haven't. And it was just definitely a wild experience that I absolutely was enthralled with. I mean, the knowledge that you were able to pour into me about just agricultural farming, and even Rhett, he's so intelligent. He knows so much about everything that's going on. When we took that little tour around the property and he was just kind of pointing everything out to me, it's amazing. It's incredible. And your family is just incredible people.
Thank you.
He's a gentleman.
Yep.
Your daughters are just so incredibly kind. When we went out to dinner last night, just the way that they interact with people, it really shows that you're instilling in them the same core values that you hold near and dear to your heart that you express at Hoel Roofing and Remodeling. Right? So you're instilling that. It's live. It's tangible. It's something that you could feel. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to learn about something that I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to learn about.
Right.
And I just really, you opened my eyes to a lot of stuff by giving me some really good information on how the industry works, what's happening, what to look out for, terms that, people think may mean a certain thing, but truly don't.
Right.
It's just, a marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Next time you're going to get me some beef, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Promise?
Yep.
You're going to freeze dry and send it over to Jersey?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And I'll send some pizzas back in return.
There you go. The kids will love that. So the reason Mike came in to town kind of to help our customers out with is we're really working on, we try to focus on the customer experience at Hoel Roofing. I'll say this 100 times. Contractors don't show up when they say they're going to. They don't give you estimates when they say they're going to. They don't do the freaking job when you say you're going to. And I feel like as a company, we do a good job with that, but we continue to dig. So some cool features of Mike, you kind of helped build, it was JobProgress, but you were the third employee hired.
Correct.
So I'm texting a buddy of mine, Brenton, that is just jumped on with you guys, and like, make sure you use Mike as a resource, because like, the ins and outs of it. And like, I don't get computer stuff. Like, I mean, I understand how to use apps, but you understand the back end of like how it works and that kind of stuff. So a few features that, we can kind of talk about, I think here, is we're going to make our estimating where customers can go in there and, add things like if they want gutter guards with their gutter estimate and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to be able to put that power in the homeowner's hands and give them multiple options, give them stuff that they can add on or take off that fits within their budget, and then of course show them the details on how much these things are going to cost. So instead of being forced on, you need to go with this option, it gives them the ability to make that selection on their own. And by digitizing your contracts and having that all automated, it's actually something that they can mess with when they're on their phone, they're on their computer, they could sign it at any time. They don't have to be in front of them. They don't have to get in, their car and come over here and get something signed. So it just really takes a lot of that pressure off of the homeowner to feel like they need to make a decision right now, and I need to go with what's just being presented. Something that really I think is very important as a homeowner for me, right? I want to be able to have a little bit of say in what's being performed, or at least have options that I could look at based off of the recommendations of the professional. Because I'm coming to you guys because you're the professionals. So the fact that you take the time out to present me with different options that I could choose from, it really changes the experience.
Well, and I mean, one thing that, we're always making sure that we do genuinely take care of the customer, give them their options, make sure they have multiple options. But something else we're working on as a company is we're working with a marketing company. It's called Impact Marketing with Marcus Sheridan. His old book was They Ask You Answer. So we're trying to put more stuff on our website to make it more, I don't want to say user friendly, but people right now, we're in the age where people want to research and they don't want to be sold like they want to be educated. So we're trying to do a better job at putting more on our website. We've actually got a full-time team member and one full-time team member. All they do is focus on is that. Another one that's probably half to 3/4 of his time is focusing on that. So what I like about this is that actually helps bring all that together, where now when people are researching and looking at stuff, and they can, like, we'll explain it to them in-house as much as they want. But I understand that some people do want to go back and they want to spend the time of researching, looking things up, that kind of stuff. So that's cool. Like I said, the reason you're here is like just helping us, making sure that we're using your system that we're already paying for to the fullest extent, with getting things, using it. And like I said, it goes back to being beneficial to our customers, where another tool you can kind of talk a little bit about is more of the scheduling tool, where customers are going to be able to see their stuff on the calendar and that kind of stuff. So because you understand that way better, I'm just going to shut up and let you talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to go back to your point about the knowledge, right? Enabling our homeowners on what the process is, what they can expect, what's going to happen when we actually show up on their doorstep and the materials have been dropped. So by providing them the ability to research this information on their own, and now taking our digitized templates and including things like videos on warranty options, or the roof system that they're looking for, instead of them having to navigate away or Google things on their own, we're providing them that information right up front. So they can see this stuff. They can really identify with, okay, I want to go with this because this serves my needs. This is what I want. It's not just you telling them what they need to go with, but now as a homeowner, I'm empowered because you guys took the time out to really teach me, and I can make those decisions on my own. And then combining the customer webpage that we're working on, where we can share the invoice, they could actually pay online. They have the option to, have that control, right? When they want to pay it, how they want to pay it, without, again, having to drive over here and drop off a check, drop off some cash. It's going to make it a much more streamlined and smooth process. Right. And then right on that customer webpage, we can share our photos. They could sign the document right from there, view the estimate. There's also videos we can have on there, the invoice information, and as you mentioned, the production calendar. So if we have, roofing, siding, and gutters that we're doing, you can actually see exactly when we're going to be coming out there and performing this work.
Yeah, I like that just because people forget, or it's just it truly, like I said, we go back, we want it to be the customer experience. Like, right. I want to make it as easy on the customer as possible, and then also help our team so we can see it all on a board. Like, we have our own whiteboard here at the office with everything on it, but just so we know how the scheduling is and all that, is pretty fun. What are some other features of like Leap that kind of help us as a contractor make our process smoother that maybe I'm not even really discussing?
So you guys are already using and utilizing a lot of really cool features like our communication aspect. And that's what I love about what you're doing at Hoel Roofing and Remodeling. You are giving the customer the information that they need through each step of the process. So when that appointment is scheduled, what can you expect? Here's the rep that's coming out. And you guys have the video already set up on who specifically is meeting them. I mean, now I don't have to worry about who's knocking on my door because you're letting me know who's coming. I think that's incredible. Then, of course, having things like different touch points on, hey, this is when we're coming out for a production. This is what's going to happen. This is what you can expect. It puts, again, that knowledge inside of the customer's hands so they don't have to go digging for this. And then with that customer webpage, I don't want to have to call up and see when you're coming out.
Right.
I don't want to have to call up and find out what my balance is. In today's digital environment, we're really transitioning to utilizing what's in front of us. So I'm busy, I'm working, I'm taking care of the kids, I got to go to church. It's so nice to be able to just pull up my phone, go into my email or my text messages from Hoel, be able to see what's going on, click that link, and now that information's in front of me. I don't have to go call you guys up, wait for a response. That's something that customer touch points that in the industry in general is something that, we need to solve for. And you guys are already taking advantage of that and doing that, which I think is absolutely incredible.
So let's go ahead and step back. Like, how did you end up at what was JobProgress? Now it's Leap. Like, if you were the third hire there, like how, that's pretty cool just because I know how big Leap is now, JobProgress, like how many customers it's serving. So like, tell that story if you would.
So when I was about 23 years old, I was working at a Staples in South Plainfield, New Jersey. And the owner of JobProgress at the time, David Bazzelli, he was coming in and getting all of his promotional printing work done. And I worked in the copy center. That was my domain. So he came in with a poster that was 24 by 36 that needed to be printed and laminated, mounted, all that good stuff. My manager had originally told him, no, it's something that you have to wait for it to come out tomorrow. So I said, you know what? Let me take a look at it and see what I can do. Printed that out for him, mounted it, laminated it, and he's like, can I get another 19 of these done by tomorrow at 2 p.m.? I was like, sure, not a problem. Little did I know, I didn't even understand what he was doing when he explained this to me, but it was actually for a presentation at a manufacturer on what the system is, what JobProgress was. So fast forward about 2 years, I'm working for a managed service provider doing, tech support. People call in, helping them out. I had never ever in my life looked for a job on Craigslist, and this is where God comes into play sometimes and really points you in the right direction. So I type in IT support or something along those lines, and I see this company, JobProgress. Mind you, it's been about 2 years since I was working with David. So I call up Staples, and I knew somebody that still worked over there. I said, hey, can you look up in our CRM this company and let me know am I thinking of the right person? She said, David Bazzelli, does that ring a bell? Yes. What's his number? I called him up. He remembered me 2 years later because I guess, making that impression and being able to be flexible enough to deliver on his needs, it meant a lot to him, right? So he said, do I want to come in and meet the second employee, individual named Lester Morris? He ran the sales team. I met him at a Starbucks, and I still say this to this day. It was like a scene from a movie where after we had our discussion and we shook hands, it felt like, the sun was shining through the window. It was, one of those moments where it's like, it's happening. And from there, I'll never forget when I first pulled up to a garage at a roofing company. I'm like, what did I just do? I left my job and now I'm pulling up to a garage. When I said that to David, he was like, don't forget, Amazon, Apple, many other companies all started in a garage. And that's when I took the position as the director of customer success. Eventually, I was able to start hiring people, bring on a nice team. We moved to an actual office, and I stayed there up until the acquisition. So once the acquisition happened, I wanted to kind of like spread my wings a little bit. I wanted to open up my own consulting firm and really take it to the next level on helping contractors streamline their operations to serve their homeowners better. At that time, I went and I worked for C3 and I helped them develop their franchise model. After that contract was over, I then became the director of technology for TC Bauer Construction. And I really credit my growth in my career and just what I'm able to translate when I work with contractors due to the fact that not only was I on the software side, but I actually worked for a roofing company.
Right.
And we used the product. We used Leap, right?
Yep.
So I was able to see on a different perspective instead of just the individual implementing it, but now I'm a user and I'm making sure that everything is processed correctly, our SOPs are built, to optimize performance and production, sales, whatever it may be. So it really opened up my eyes to how can we maximize what the system can do in order to, again, provide the best customer experience, not only for our contractors, but for their homeowners and the customers that they work with. So after some time, I ended up working for a company called Service Titan, spent about a year there. And then I had reached out to Leap. We had gotten in touch with each other. Basically, they were like, hey, do you want to come home? I said, absolutely. I would love to come back. And it's just been an incredible experience being back at Leap because the growth that has continued to happen after I had left, during the acquisition, it's amazing to see all these different moving parts, different departments, everybody cross-functionally working together and being able to be a part of that and nurture not only the growth of our contractors using it, but also our internal team, helping them to become consultants and really identify what a contractor needs to utilize instead of just checking a box, and saying like, we're going to activate this, and this. No, I want to hear about your business. How do you work with your homeowners? How do you manage your sales team? How do you manage production? Let's go ahead and build the system out to fit those needs, and let's implement some other tools that can streamline this all together.
So what, how many employees now?
We're at about 200 and around 200 something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How many were there when
I
you
left?
Yeah.
16.
16.
Oh,
wow. Okay. So, which Leap was more of a sales proposal
correct
tool, right? So that was a separate company. Mm-hmm. Do you any idea how big they were when they bought out JobProgress?
They were a little bit larger than us. Leap, again, as you said, it was originally like an estimating and proposal in-home selling tool, and they got backed by private equity because they were just doing such a fantastic job. And they saw JobProgress. We were, a smaller company, but we quickly earned the rank of being one of the top 3 CRMs in the industry. So it was, Nimbus, AccuLynx, and us. And I always used to make a joke with customers like, we're like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. You've got one that may be a little bit too expensive and rigid. You've got one that maybe doesn't really fully do what you need. And then we could be that sweet spot.
Right.
We can give you the operations that you need to focus on, the tools that you need to use, and then instead of you having to conform to us, like I said, we get to conform to you.
Nice way to put it, I guess. So that, the crazy thing is it's the job that you reached out on Craigslist. That's actually how I got in the roofing space. So I was looking for a straight commission sales job because I had followed Dave Ramsey for a few years, and he's like, straight commission sales is one of them. If you want to control your own destiny, like that's something you should look into. So that's why I did. And that's literally, I'm pretty confident when I say this, the only job I ever looked on Craigslist. But, so as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy, and then the crazy thing is the guy that trained me really grew up. You didn't grow up that far from him, so that's even crazier. Just like the roofing space is so big, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, but then like how a sales manager in Indiana could hire a guy off of Craigslist, and that's been several years ago, now. So you said you've been in in the roofing space almost 10 years?
Yeah, so I started in November of 2017 was when I started at JobProgress. So we're coming up on 10 years. And other than my time at Service Titan, I've always been using JobProgress / Leap CRM. So it's something that's just, it's in my blood. I love this product because I know the potential that it has to really help contractors grow. And I've witnessed it. I've seen it. That's why we still have companies that have been with us since I was there in the beginning.
Well, and one thing that I appreciate the older I get is like working with people that enjoy what they do. And you sitting in our office, like just the pure excitement, like, I'm just like, to me, it's boring tech crap that I have to do, that we have to have for the company, for the business. Like, I understand the importance of it. I'm not one of them guys like, I don't need that crap. But like, you thoroughly enjoy it. And like I said, like that is probably something that the older I get, the more I enjoy when somebody, shout out to Stephanie that does our bookkeeping. Like, she loves it. Like she enjoys it. Adam, when he goes and does videos, like he's come back to the office sometimes giddy like a high school girl, just like so excited about shooting that video for that small business. And like, that makes me exciting. And it kind of reminds me, why I do what I do. But I mean, genuinely, like, I want to thank you for your professionalism, for caring, and there was some stuff that we were having problems with that was an easy fix. We just had to say it to you, and just some other things that you told us that are coming up and things that we can do. Like, it makes our life easier. So, sincerely, like, thank you for your love of it, because too many people, they want to check the box. It's like, well, I'm going to check that box. That's what I was supposed to do today. Like, have passion. Like, I want that to be different. Like, I've had people come to me and say, you guys were not the cheapest bid, but your sales guys believed, like they believe in you. And I'm like, that's pretty cool to hear. A, it's cool to hear from somebody that knows me, but B, like a complete stranger to say, what you and Emily are doing here is special. And like, that's pretty cool. For, like I said, that's cool for me to hear, and like I said, to witness like your love for it, of like, just, hey guys, we can do this, we can do that. And like, some of it's like starts getting over my head for a minute. I was like, all right, let me reel back into, what Mike is saying there. So what other, we kind of talked about this, challenges, like, we were, before we were recording, you like pulled up and, you got me and Emily that have hardly ever left the cornfields of Indiana. I mean, we have, but don't get me wrong, but you're pulling up like where you grew up at in Jersey and where you've lived here and there, and you're good, and whatnot. But like, you kind of shared, like, you struggled with heroin for 8 years.
Yeah.
Like, and you showed like it was pretty much a homeless shelter that you lived in, and like, I don't know, like you were zooming in on some of that stuff, and it was just, it was kind of crazy, like to hear you talk about it, so like, kind of talk a little bit about that journey of like, how'd you slip into that, and then like, what was it like to get you out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in active addiction from 15 to 23. I was always a kid who felt very insecure. I didn't really believe in myself. I didn't have much self-worth. And, my parents, they absolutely loved me. They're incredible parents. I have an incredible family and support system. It's just something that I was missing. There's a void that was inside of me, a hole that I was trying to fill. And, of course, it early on started out with just, smoking cannabis and drinking at a young age. But around 15 years old, I was introduced to this substance that they called the cheese. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what I was sniffing, right? And they don't tell you what happens when you do it a couple days in a row and then you wake up extremely sick. They don't tell you about that part. But I remember I just remember the first time that I did it. It felt like I was finally okay with me. I was able to be okay with who I was, but it was fake. It was a lie. And you don't realize that in the beginning, and then you fall deeper and deeper into a hole. I was, on probation, juvenile probation from 15 to 18. Once They let me off of probation. Once I turned 18, they let me go. And I just went down the rails even further. My parents tried everything in their power that they could, sent me to multiple, long-term programs that I've been in. Connecticut, Jersey, New York, Florida. I traveled all over to try and seek recovery. And, I learned that geographical locations don't actually change you. I needed to change for me. So after a couple more years of just living in the gutters and, moved back to Brooklyn, as I was showing you, and living in one of those 3-quarter houses, it just really was this mindset that I didn't think I was going to ever make it out. I really didn't. My spirituality was completely gone. I was bankrupt. I was empty. I didn't feel that love. Even though, I knew that I was doing this to myself. I never blamed God. I knew that I was doing it to me. I have free will. I'm making these choices. It wasn't until I was on methadone, and I was in a program for about 6.5 months, and I got off methadone. I was really, really sick at the end. I worked my way up to the top of the program, and I was escorting a client to the store. Unbeknownst to me, he had grabbed, some product and showed it to me when we were walking back. And I was really sick from the methadone detox, so I gave in. I ended up getting thrown out of the program the next day. And, I crawled back home to Jersey to my mother's house, knocked on her door, and lied, of course, about why I got kicked out. I blamed it on fighting. But I think she kind of knew that was always a code word for, something happened. And about 2 months of hiding it and lying to my parents, I eventually had gotten caught. And what happened was my mother had walked in on me while I was in the process of trying to feel better, put it that way. And the look in her eyes is something that I'll never forget. I can still see her face. And that was probably the first time that I woke up. And then, very true story, I'm not lying. The next day, after that happened, so she said to me, she's like, can you just try doing something my way? Can you try doing something different? Obviously, Michael's way isn't working, right? So can you try something different? I want you to talk to Father Bill, this priest at the church. And just because of everything that I just put her through, I humored her. I was like, okay, let me go ahead and do it. On everything I love, Bob, I walked into that church, I walked out a different person. I mean, the sun was brighter. I could feel the air. It just seemed like something was lifted from me that I didn't know how to lift on my own. And that was finding God again, because I turned my back on my spirituality. And that's why I love, the Footsteps poem, like that there was only one set of footprints because God was carrying you. I love that because that's why I'm fortunate enough. I have so many friends that have lost their lives. I mean, I'm sure we all know somebody that is struggling with addiction or alcoholism that unfortunately didn't make it, or may still be out there actively using. And turning my life and my will over to a higher power that I choose to call God was pivotal in me actually finding growth. And we were talking about yesterday, even though I did that and I removed myself from active addiction, you still have all of these personal issues that now are going to rear their ugly head, because I have been self-medicating for 8 years. So all of those feelings of low self-worth and low self-esteem, thinking that I wasn't worth anything. I mean, I didn't think that I was going to make it past the age of 25. I really didn't. I thought I was stupid. I thought I had nothing to offer. And I found out that those things weren't true. I didn't believe in myself. And it's because I didn't have a true relationship with God. I prayed. I thought that I was in that zone, spirituality. But when you're living that way, I was just morally bankrupt. And it wasn't there. So when I did go and finally, truly, honestly spoke to this priest and let him know for the first time in 8 years, I let somebody know what was really going on and what I was feeling, and broke down, started crying, hated it, because we're men and we can't show emotions, we got to be, can't do that. But it really opened my eyes to another way of living. And that's when I ended up getting the job at Staples. So a week before this happened, I had interviewed with that Staples. And then I go and talk to the priest. I was still using, right? Go and talk to the priest. And then I think 2 days later, I got the call. And my life became focused on taking it just one day at a time. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd hit my knees. And I still do this to the day. I wake up in the morning, make my bed, hit my knees, and I pray. And I just focus on, what do I need to accomplish today? And then at the end of the night, I like to review and see, what could I have done better? How can I be better tomorrow? But in those early days, it was, really just today. What can I do today? How can I make sure that I'm good today? Sometimes I was taking it an hour at a time, a second at a time, because it just felt like that anxiety and not knowing where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do, what am I going to become. Taking that off of my plate and focusing on what I'm doing in the here and now, it afforded me the ability to really grow. And because of that, God just works in mysterious ways, right? All because of that, getting that job at Staples, it gave me a career. Mm-hmm. I don't have a college degree. Right. I'm not, not formally educated, right? I've learned through experience and just the knowledge that's been passed over to me, talking to guys like you. I didn't know the roofing industry beforehand. Actually, as a matter of fact, my first call ever, so I shadowed David Bazzelli, the owner, for 3 days, right? And again, I don't really know the system. I don't know the roofing industry. Then he tells Lester, he's like, all right, Lester, next sale you get, Mike's going to onboard them. And I won't say the individual's name, but I remember when I got on that call, he said, do you know anything about roofing? Do you know anything about the software? Do you even work for this company? And I vowed then that I was going to do everything in my power to learn this industry, what we do, how we do it, and then really master the platform, the system that we were building. So it was an awesome experience to be able to contribute, not my ideas, but listening to individuals like yourself, right? What you want to see the platform do, what you want that to, how you want that to function, how you want it to work. And then taking this, visualizing it, talking to the development team, talking with the owner, and making sure that we were able to provide these solutions based off what our contractors need. And that's why our slogan is built for contractors by contractors. And to this day, even Leap, right? So Leap was owned by New Look Home Design. Our current CEO, Patrick Fingles, he's a contractor. Okay. Like, we are roofers. It's what we do. So that was something that really changed my life because it gave me purpose. I realized that I am talented. I realized that I can talk in front of groups of people and I can lead implementations and teach teams how to grow. And like you mentioned, the passion for it. You know what the passion comes from? It's because of your culture and the culture that you built. Because I see how passionate your team is and how hungry they are to really provide the best possible experience to your customers. So I would be discrediting you if I didn't offer the same. Right. And really provide that insight on like, hey, we could do this, or have we thought about doing something like that? And just conversing about it, getting that feedback, and then being able to either implement it, or if it's something that we can't do, relay that information back to the team so that we can make it happen. Because at the end of the day, we're here to serve you, and you're going to serve your homeowners. So we have to do our job to make sure that you're equipped with everything that you need to provide the best possible experience to every customer who calls you.
Well, and it's kind of crazy because, like truly how God's hand is in like everything. And, because like I said, I didn't know anything about roofing. I'll be honest, when I got hired in as a salesman for a company out of Indy, and we did a tour at the Owens Corning plant that happens to be about 40 minutes from here in Brookville, Indiana. And I remember when I got back from that tour, I crawled up in we had a Bedford stone with an attached garage, and you could get up in the attic from the garage. And I crawled up there, and there was a bundle of Owens Corning shingles. That was the only reason I knew that I had Owens Corning shingles on the house that I was living in, that we had owned at the time. So like that was, but like, it's always funny because I always hear people in the roofing space, because I'm not your traditional laborer that was swinging. Like, I was a sales guy that got into the roofing space, and, since I've done a lot of repairs, done a lot of house flipping, but I had to self-teach a lot of this stuff, and it's always funny because I hear people say, I didn't choose roofing chose me, and like, I mean, to think that, Adam and Ellie that work for us, they were both in the church youth group that me and Emily helped out with when we were freshly married, and Adam has that tech knowledge. He gets that tech, and he has that love for videography and that kind of stuff. And it's really cool to be able to hire somebody like him that he can work in the community that raised him and do something like that he enjoys. Like, I truly don't think there's another full-time videographer in Rush County. I could be wrong. I don't say that arrogantly. I'm very appreciative of the talents that we have that work here, but it's a lot of fun, just to kind of see, like, I believe a lot in, like, we create our life. Like, I believe in God. I believe he's in control. Don't get me wrong. However, like, how did they build Leap? Well, they just started one day and started working on it, and look where it's at now. Like, how did Bob and Emily build whole roofing and remodeling? I just wanted an opportunity to better my kids' life. So I was like, I'm going to start selling roof jobs for myself. And I was doing the sales, the production, the QC, everything. And then it just gradually built a team, but to me, it's just, we live in a crazy world. We were going down a rabbit hole earlier about conspiracy theory stuff, and we'll not do that right now. But genuinely, like, there's a lot of good people out there. I couldn't do it without, me and Emily couldn't do it without our team. Like, Emily was asking you a million questions because she wants to know Leap inside and out. Jonathan, Ellie sat in there a lot. Chris was in there some, of, like, trying to really figure it out to make their life easier, so that's the fun part of, like, just sitting back and, got the opportunity to take you out to our house last night, the home that we just built, and just, like, that's pretty cool for me, of, like, to step back and just look at truly what God has blessed us with. Like, we've had to work our asses off. I don't hide behind that at all, and we've had to hire a lot of good people, and, they've had to work hard, but it's rewarding. We live in a pretty awesome world too. Like, we could pick and complain about all the crazy stuff, but, like, we genuinely, like, you got pulled over yesterday on your way home. Like, he could have gave you a ticket and been a jerk just as easy as just,
I'd be flying back to Indiana to go to the court date, But God is good. It's like, it's so incredible to see you built this culture, and through that, through the gifts that we've been blessed with, that you've been blessed with, it empowers you to provide opportunities for other individuals. It gives them the opportunity to shine, right? They can perform to the best of their ability, and then you pour into them the knowledge that they need. So don't forget, always keep in mind that you built this culture.
Well, I always say, like, me and Emily, we may have kind of set the standards, but I always tell the new team members, like, or all the team members, like, it's they keep that same culture, though. Like, they've got to speak up when we are interviewing, and they're like, that person doesn't fit here. Not in a bad way. It's just, and sometimes I've listened, sometimes I haven't. And it always works its way out, but, like, I mean, if it's Ellie answering the call at 11 o'clock at night to take a customer's call, like, yes, she could have easily ignored that call, and I wouldn't even have said anything. Like, I'd have got the notification that the answering service picked it up. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't even have been like, oh, why ain't she doing her job? For God's sakes, it's 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. But, like, whatever that is, like, when I get compliments from, like, Adam, whenever he's coming back, we do some small business spotlights, and, like, oh my gosh, like, he loves what he does. He believes in you guys. Like, that was really fun interacting. Hear a lot of compliments from our sales guys. We've got some really kind guys, and it's easier to hear compliments from the sales guys that are the face of the company and seeing 2 or 3 people every single day than Adam, that's behind the camera, that's behind the computer 90% of the time. Right. But, it's like, yes, you're right, but it's also people like Jonathan and Nick and Chris and Cody and them guys that's been here a while that care.
They love,
like, it. That genuinely care. Tim, he helps site supervisor. He's a production guy out in the field. Like, you don't know how many times at 6:05 my phone's going off. There's somebody at the office. It's like, well, that's Tim. Like 6 o'clock in the friggin' morning. He lives an hour away. It's like, Tim, do you ever sleep? But, like, he enjoys, like, he's an installer. Like, he enjoys that. And, like, I guess that's the coolest part of an owner is, like, finding people that enjoy their job. Because like if you've got 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 people that enjoy doing their job, it makes everything just flow nicer. And like, I mean, running the business, running the construction companies, there's always hiccups, you know, but just having the right people and the right culture. And, you know, and I kind of hate the word culture because sometimes people think that's just like
your mission statement.
Something up on the wall that nobody abides by, like, you know, integrity. And then, you know, just stuff like that. That's like, okay, that's one of our core values, but like, how do we live that,
Yeah, exactly. So, how do we live those core values? Yeah. And, you know, another thing that you're able to do for the entire team is you're giving them, instead of just a job, check in the box, right? Just a job, you're providing a career that builds purpose. And that is so extremely important for everybody. I mean, going and showing up for work and knowing that everything that I do today is going to have a direct impact to either better the business or create a better experience for our customers and our homeowners. That is purpose-driven opportunity right there. And I think it's something that's extremely important and a lot of times is missing. You know, so when people feel like they're providing something that delivers an optimized purpose, they feel complete. Mm-hmm. And if I feel complete, then I know that I can actually perform at a higher level because I truly do care. Right. Because I am passionate about this. Because he is showing up at 6 a.m. because he cares. Right. He wants to make sure that everything's right, not only at Hoel Roofing and Remodeling, but also for the homeowner, that there isn't anything that was missed when the supplier dropped it off or whatever it may be. But just setting the stage and creating a foundation of nurturing love and growth. That's what I've witnessed while I've been here. Thank you. Honestly. And just, again, you know, the hospitality, the love, the feeling like I'm part of the family. You all did that. You all provided that because that's what lives here. It's a living and breathing organism. And it's something that I think that everybody can take note of because it's incredible. It really is. I mean, I've done a lot of on-sites, worked with a lot of incredible companies, but there are certain individuals and certain companies that you work with where you just feel like, these guys are awesome. Like this is home. Honestly, I've said I would move here. I love it here. I absolutely love it here. And it's just because of that vibe, that feeling. It's just, you provide that. The company provides that. The individuals that work here provide that love and make it so that you don't want to leave. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to work with a company, and if I was a homeowner, I want to work with a company where the employees are happy. Right. You know, they're being taken care of. They're doing things to the best of their ability because they love what they do. And if they love what they do, that's going to translate in the work that's performed. So it's not having to be fearful that I'm going to get ripped off or that, you know, production's going to be late because no, these individuals actually care. And they care about providing the best possible solutions to the homeowners. And when it's not just a job, but when it is a career that you have purpose and you want to excel, you want to grow in, you can see that. And I see that here.
Thank you. Unfortunately, you got to take off for a flight here in a few minutes. I just want to thank you for coming to help us, but sitting down, getting vulnerable there, talking about, past struggles. And is there any ending notes, I guess, maybe you want to end us with? I mean, you're about teared up just like watching you tell some of your story,
Well, two things. I mean, from a business perspective, so if you're a business owner, the one thing that I heard and that I always thought was very powerful from one of my former employers was you need to stop working in your business and start working on your business, right? And that's what you do by delegating, creating a circle of excellence around you, by providing people with the purpose just like you're doing. Because when you let go of the reins and allow them to shine, it creates an opportunity in their life that they can build upon that strong foundation. And now on a personal note, there's always help that's available. You don't have to struggle, and you're not alone. And when we ask for help, we'll get it. Drop to your knees. Talk to God. Pray. Talk to your friends and family. Don't struggle and suffer in silence because you don't have to.
I think we're just going to leave right there. I appreciate you, Mike. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you for hosting me. Seriously, I really appreciate it. I have had an incredible time. I don't want to go back to Jersey. I want to stay here, but I really do appreciate it. I love it here, man, and I look forward to doing this again.
Thank you.